Welcome to the podcast that buffs your Hearthstone game. This is Velen's Chosen.
Not all who wander are lost.
What's up, Visionaries? Welcome to Velen's Chosen. Whether you're a competitive player, an arena specialist, a deck building visionary, you just want to have some fun and go up to the new expansion called Boomsday, we got you covered. And that's right. That's how we're starting this. We're not going to do what Coin Concede tried to do, which is one does not simply whisper Boomsday. You can clip that and you can make the meme and you can do the whole thing, but one does not whisper Boomsday.
Unless you have laryngitis.
Unless you have laryngitis. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. My name's Rob. This is episode 148 of Velen's Chosen podcast, a Hearthstone podcast built to do something and talk about this game. And amuse you is definitely one of those things. Amusing us first this week is Grant. What's up, Grant?
That sounds like our show's having an existential crisis.
It does.
What is the meaning? Why are we here? What are we doing?
And also having a great segue. Saving the main host from a segue is Eve Martin. What's up, Eve?
What?
Who
I'm
needs
all
segues?
confused. Hi.
That's right.
This is Eve. Nice
Hola.
to meet you.
The resident lore
I have
master.
like a motorbike going outside my window right now. I apologize.
Do you come here often?
I hear a loud noise. I better talk during it. Let me just patch that in. Podcasting 101.
The show.
We're experienced
Just get
veterans,
real
ladies
quiet?
and gents.
Righto. You got it.
All right, off to a great start. This week, guys, we have coverage of a lot of news, including the Fire Festival card changes in 12.0 of Hearthstone. We have a new comic that has been checked out by Eve. She's going to be running us through that. And we also have 13 card reveals this week, I believe. If I can run this. No, I can't. I believe it's about 13. And then
More than 10.
hopefully we can get through a brief announcement from our good friend and yours mid-game and the lore moment about ethereals that we promised at least 3 weeks ago. So we will try to do that for all of you this week. And we're going to try to keep it in under an hour and a half. All of these things and more at 8. And likely one of those things will be broken and it will probably be tied to time. So let's keep going. Hearthstone news, ladies and gents. Fire Festival is out. Our Lord and Savior Ragnaros the Fire Lord is offering us double gold.
Yay.
So y'all can keep on racking up them sweet gold giblets and go into your Fire Festival pack where the new Tavern Brawl is out. And it is a crazy one. Eve had a great deck that I actually copied and played. It was fun.
Cool.
Lots of eggs. Typical Rob form, I took the cards I didn't like and I still swapped them out, which was about 4 total. But that's because I really wanted to make sure I could get my Gurubashi Berserkers. And the Runic eggs were great, by the way. I love the Runic eggs in the list. But
I
that was
added a
fun.
new one since I put the list out. Somebody
That's the one I
beat me by
used.
playing the one with the who makes your hero immune during your turn.
Violet Illusionist?
Yeah,
Is that
Violet
what it
4-3?
is? Yeah.
4-3
Ja.
neutral?
Yeah, so probably will get killed the next turn, but for one turn saves you from all of the rag hits to the face.
Nice.
So if it's like down to the wire for you and your opponent and you're like trading back and forth, saving you an entire turn of getting rag hits to the face is like really good and could just win you the game. So that was a
Interesting.
key card for me. Yeah.
I saw somebody running just Zoo, and they played both of their flame imps, and I was like, "You're helping me out, man. That was great." I had so much advanced damage on him, even after he dropped 2 Shroom Brewers, that I was just like, I don't actually want to hit you in the face. I'm just gonna let this guy do it because he's just killing himself. So all right, that's fine. Yeah,
Like
Grant,
the
what'd you do?
major way that I chose to play it was you make a lot of minions that are easy to die because you want to pump Rag's power up really fast, and then he hits your enemy and
Mhm.
they die. So yeah.
Just
You know what I
durable
did?
stuff.
I played freaking Silent Storm on the Tavern
Ooh.
Brawl. That's what I did.
You mean the pro?
The
Did you
pro, 'cause
RNG
you
him
have-
to oblivion?
This would be no. Here's the thing. This would be the 5th time I've played Silent Storm in the last year or two.
And you know this is the correct one because the golden card back, right?
Yeah, he had it. Yeah, he had it.
Yeah.
And like he was running some janky, hinky jinky mage or something or other, and I was like, I don't want to think. I'm just gonna play even Warlock, and I almost had him, but then he beat me.
And
But
then he pro'd you.
I had him down to like 4 health or something dumb like
He
that. And I was just like, well,
you. Oh,
he
we're gonna
pro'd
make
you.
that a new meme.
he did.
He
He
Ben
done
pro'd
pro'd
you.
me, guys.
Den-
He did
Ben
pro
pro'd.
things.
Oh gosh, he's been pro'd. Ridiculous
He's been
hat. His ears are
pro'd.
buzzing somewhere.
Oh, great.
But
Ah.
like I did it, and then the next one I was like, okay, I'm just gonna. I get it now. So I went and made my own little quick deck and just stomped it and forgot about it. But
Nice.
I like this. This is a decent Tavern Brawl. I liked Eve's idea. I saw Eve's idea. Like this literally works in all the classes. It's like this.
I had
the best
double Devil
most-
Stars and a Gurubashi by the time the game was over. I was
Yes.
like, this is fun.
Well, I liked it because I had a whole bunch of quests for different classes. So I was like, I want to make something just with neutral cards
Right.
only, so that I can
just get wins with
paste
any
and
class.
copy it into every class
Yeah.
and just keep. I
That's a good idea.
actually managed to get Golden Rogue with this Tavern Brawl because I hadn't leveled my Rogue all the way up to 60. Sorry, not Golden. Leveled up to 60 Rogue.
Oh, okay.
Max
Because
level.
Rogue was my next to
level.
Druid. It was my least played class, and I finally got it up to level 60.
So
Sorry,
now you have all the
it's
golden
confusing.
shinies.
Yes.
I got a
No,
golden
because
voodoo
I
doctor
haven't
this
finished
week. That was
Druid.
exciting.
Druid is still at level 44 out of 60.
Well, you best get playing that druid there.
I don't want it.
Better do your
eventually.
chores, Eve. Do your
I'm a
chores.
completionist, so eventually I'm gonna get there because it's just gonna nag at me and bug me. But
You know, I feel your pain to a degree because I have 8 golden classes, like golden hero portraits, except for warrior, and I'm over 300, but I cannot bring myself to play warrior. I cannot do it. I don't know why. I have this 9th golden class. I could have had it months ago if I just decided to knuckle down and play warrior, but I don't want to play warrior.
maybe
So I
this
just-
expansion will make you want to play warrior.
Maybe,
and then
maybe,
finally,
maybe.
you will get the golden warrior.
The golden elusive
Speaking
warrior.
of optimism within already broken classes, let's get into the card changes that we got this week. We have a lot of adjustments on very interesting nuanced things with the cards in Hearthstone. Some of these are minor with regards to tribes getting shifted on cards that made sense. We have a balance change for Shadowboxer, and we have a enchantment holding thing that we want to talk through, as well as kind of like how they are adjusting Voodoo Doll and how enchantments retain outside of graveyard use. And then there is a this also kind of affects like ordering and stuff, but let's break this down. I'm going to give this to Grant because I feel like this is more your wheelhouse on explaining
Well,
these things here.
I read everything on it like it was yesterday.
Mhm.
Was it today or yesterday it was released? I don't remember. But I read it down, and a lot of it seemed like they just put into print stuff that's already true or we've known to be true, like cards
It's just so
retain
clear,
their.
though. Did you get that? Like, you feel like it was really well written and well explained, and these are the reasons for doing the things we're doing.
Well,
Like, that's what I got from it.
yeah, I mean, there was definitely some clarification in a couple points. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But some of it was like, it was a problem, like like stuff like the pre-spells that copy stuff out of your deck or out of your hand. It's it says retains enchantment, and it's like, oh, didn't it do that already? I guess I was, some cards that I don't play very often. I guess I wasn't sure how they were interacting, but
You would get the vanilla copy of something instead of like the copy of something. So if it was buffed by something in their hand,
Right.
and you were supposed to get a copy of it,
right.
you would get just the vanilla version of the card
okay.
instead of a legitimate buffed version
So like,
of it.
if I got a card that was like buffed by Keliseth and I was a
Yeah.
priest and I said copy out of their hand, I'm like, oh, I get the Keliseth. Okay, so retains enchantments. Okay, got it.
Yes,
Because
so
it
that
really-
actually makes them all better.
Yeah, it definitely does. So this is something that we've been asking for gosh a long time, was that they would just be I guess, worrying more about consistency. But when they do consistency changes or whatnot,
do.
that they do. Yes, there you go. Very good.
We're 12.
Woo!
Some of us.
12-year-olds podcasting. It's like playing Overwatch in bronze. He's playing against 12-year-olds. Anyways, I'm done.
Shots fired.
So, God, jeez, OP. So,
You took
anyways,
him right off the rails, Rob. He's got to get back on the rails.
I'm
again.
so
Guys-
good at
guys,
it. Don't diminish
my
my
back.
successes, okay?
Anyhow, so so I want to say that it seems like, and this is not me taking pot shots at anybody. It seems that now with new people at the helm in Hearthstone, that they're kind of more willing to, is it acquiesce or is it appeal to the demands or the desires of the populace at large? I don't know, because we're getting nerfs more often. They're explaining why they're doing stuff more often. In this case, they're trying to make the game more consistent, but then they're going through the rigmarole of like articulating in print for all to see what they're thinking and what their process was on it. So we have it. You guys want me to start going down the list
Yeah.
of some of the more interesting ones?
Go ahead.
Sure. So we learned this with the what's the Grizzly card, the taunt. What's
Ironwood
what's
Grizzly.
That card? Is it Ironwood Grizzly? The original art
Witchwood
for
Grizzly,
it,
sorry.
Witchwood
Witchwood
Grizzly. He looked really, because Ironwood Grizzly is the 3/3 for taunt, right?
Yeah.
3/3
Right,
it's a
yeah,
taunt.
yeah.
Yeah.
3
Iron
The
Fur,
Witchwood Grizzly, he looked like a ghost, a spectral bear.
Right.
And they said, you know what? We're changing the art on this because we want it to be a beast. So we're going to make it be an actual bear instead of like a spectral bear.
Yeah.
And so that way it was consistent. And then they put out a patch note talking about the ghostly charger. They said, look, it's listed as a beast, but it's really not a beast, because anything that's like a specter or a ghost or something that would be ethereal-ish, not an ethereal class, but like ethereal-like in nature, they're going to try and just, you're not going to have beast tags on it, because I think there were some cards that were spectral type creatures, but they didn't have the beast tag, so they were making it consistent. The other change they made was they moved Ixalan the Fungal Lord out of the elemental tribe. And their reasoning was, it said, look, when you think of an elemental, we want it to be like something that is not a living, breathing, thinking thing.
The 4 elements in Arcane. Those are the things.
Right.
Wind,
The 4 elements.
fire, earth, water, Arcane. Those are what you're thinking when you're thinking elementals.
Well, they're
in
taking
Hearthstone.
Arcane
Right.
out of it, though, right? Because they're going to make
Yeah.
Arcane Golem a completely different thing as well. It's not going to be an elemental. So they're kind of
Right.
taking Arcane out and just leaving it water, fire, earth,
And like Arcane
air.
Giants, that's
That's
another
it.
one they kind of cited in the article. So Ixalan will no longer be in the elemental tribe. Then they kind of said, there's lots of plant type things in the game that are not elements, and I think they cited which one is it? The Vile Spline and the
Fen Creeper. Oh, yeah.
Fen
the,
Creeper, Vile
the
Spline.
legendary. The
legendary-
one that
What's the
pops
one
out.
the one that copies
Tar
stuff?
Creeper.
It's no, it's
Yeah,
the
the
plant that was
legendary.
terrible. It was a legendary neutral plant. I'm blanking out on it.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Vorax?
The one that the Vorax.
Vorax.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Lorax, but the Vorax. I was thinking Dr. Seuss something or other, but I couldn't remember. But anyways, those are not tagged as elementals, so why should Ixalan be tagged as an elemental?
Yeah.
They changed for our wild friends. They changed Shadow Boxer. It will only deal damage when a minion is healed and not any character. They
Because
had
you
an
have the
issue.
ability to give Shadow Boxer lifesteal.
Yes,
And if that happens, then
It
it could be
it's a 30 damage
ridiculous.
OTK. It basically cycles because it heals, damages, takes the hit health, it does damage again, and it just creates an infinite loop, and basically kills the opponent with no agency. So they made that to where it's not any character, it's just minion. So, anyways, Shifter Xeris, Molten Blade, and Shifting Scroll. These are all cards that when you have them in your hand are essentially they change. They're the ones that they'll change. They kind of glowish, go blue a little bit, and then after each turn, it's a different thing. If they get any enchantments, they lose those enchantments when they transform. So,
Which makes
if
sense to me, right? Because
because
whenever
there's-
you change something, like you polymorph it, or you hex it, or you transform it in some way, it loses all enchantments that it had to begin with.
Right.
And these cards do that every turn, so
Yeah, and for example, there's cards that will buff minions in your hands, but there's also cards that do things to your weapons too. So if you had, I don't know, like a True Silver Champion in your hand that Molten Blade turned into and it got a buff, and then next turn you didn't do anything with it, it would lose that buff. So that's all that's doing. Voodoo Doll's curse is removed on a minion if it transforms. So like if you silence it or evolve it, anything, if it transforms into something else, evolved, polymorphed, hexed, all that stuff, it just goes away. So that one didn't surprise me. I didn't know it didn't do that, but I guess
Silencing the curse minion also breaks curse.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yep.
if you silence Voodoo Doll, it won't die, and if you silence the minion itself, it won't die.
Now, I want to back up just a little bit here when we mentioned the arcane giant thing, because Eve had mentioned that they are going to be taking a look at them or something. But arcane
They're
giant,
deciding not to make it like World of Warcraft. They're deciding like
let me
literally to
finish.
step
So,
away.
the arcane giants and arcane golems are something that they said they're not changing yet. Subtly different than a war golem, which is carved from something magically animated, while the golem definition refers to something that has been magically animated, and therefore neither mech nor elemental. Both arcane giant and arcane golem cards don't clearly show them to be one or the other. But since the correct type of these creatures is unclear, they're leaving them unchanged for now, but would love to hear feedback. They're doing something similar with Bog Shaper because it's such a staple card that revolves around its original design being an elemental itself and its effect being elemental-like. But they're considering making some sort of change to that card when it hits the wild rotation rather than something current. So this is not something we're going to see for even a year in likelihood.
Yeah.
But just to keep you in mind, there are other things like this. They also mentioned Kylie Grandmother, which is not considered a beast, but a worgen. So they're kind of like, they're not going to be changing Kylie Grandmother.
They're leaving it as a beast. They're leaving it as a beast just because.
That's the again, original design.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because they, on the one hand, say, yeah, we want to change all the things to be more consistent. And then they openly admit that, yeah, Kindly Grandmother turns into a worgen. So, but people like the way it is, so we're going to leave it that way.
Well, that's the same thing they did with Arfis, right? They're like, we can either make this change and make it legitimate, or we can leave the fun. And we know that if we change it, people are going to complain.
You're right, though.
Kindly Grandmother does actually have a usage as a beast.
Right. Well, doesn't an Arfis is one of those spectral creatures, right? He's a spectral puppy dog. So it was interesting to me that when they wrote the article, they're like, we want to be more consistent. We want to make stuff. Oh, but by the way, we're intentionally not being consistent with these cards because reasons. Because people like it the way it is.
Because they're saying in the interest of being consistent, we're still not going to lose the fun. We're not going to sacrifice the fun and your enjoyment of the game and the way people want to play in order to be extremely literally consistent across the board. And I appreciate that. Arfis was one of those things where we're like, yeah, technically he's not a beast, but you're not going to get him out of Rexar anymore if we change this. People are going to want to dust him and get full refund. Nobody's going to play him anymore, yada, yada, yada. So in this interest, we're going to keep him as a beast for these reasons because we want you to still play him and have fun with him and him to have this, place in the game. And the same thing with Kindly Grandmother. We're like, going forward, we're going to make sure they don't look like worgen anymore. We're going to not make that
build on
mistake
what
and make it
Eve's
too
saying
close.
here. I have to support what she's saying because, like, as a game design company with cards in specific, like, you have to make exceptions somewhere, right? Like, you can't just like keep all of the cards and like broad brush everything for the sake of consistency. And especially when you're trying to move the game into a certain direction, rotation just fixes that long term. So what they're probably trying to do is shore up some of the things within the competitive scene for standard at least, and then they're kind of putting things in the rearview mirror and kind of tapering things off with regards to wild. For whatever reason, you can say that it's good or bad. You can even argue like how you feel about this viscerally, like the decision to make exceptions with regards to wild is like diminishing the format or whatever you want to be upset or happy about because you're a wild player. That's fine. But it looks like most of the decisions are not made purely on consistency because they're allowing for exceptions. This means that they're letting consistency be the precedent as being something they're trying to inform the community as being an important factor, and then they're informing what they target as being, something minor that makes sense if it makes sense and it's not like game breaking or monumentally game shifting, especially now, they're going to try to slowly taper these things into the consistency vault. And then as they move forward, try to keep everything in the future in that same like idea.
To me, I think this means going forward, we're going to have more tribes. I think they're trying
That's
to get
also
everything
true.
into its proper place, into its proper, like when you look at a card, you're going to be able to just look by the picture and be able to tell what its tribe is, because there's probably going to be more going forward. And they know that they need to make these adjustments now and care about art more going forward. So that when you look at something, you're like, well, that looks like a beast to me. And it's going to be a beast. Otherwise, they're going to not, like the bear, they're going to make it very clear by the art what kind of tribe it's in.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's interesting to me that 3-4 years down the road they start to, and I'm sure they've always done it, but they're starting to make it more obvious to us, the public, that we're actually now filtering our art when we consider card design. It's not just does the picture look cool, and fit the word. It's like, does this picture actually fit the type? Let's look at that for a minute. And it's just one more check, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't mind if they want to make exceptions to their own rules. They can do whatever they want. It's their game. And I like that they're trying to do things in the interest of fun. I just thought, I was just merely saying it was kind of funny that they bothered to just say it. But honestly,
Sure.
like, if you make a game and you say, look, we understand this, we know it, and we're just choosing to not do it a certain way because we want to, I mean, really, that's probably the best way to go about it, because then people can't say, well, they're dumb and they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because they do know what they're doing. And they're just saying, we are the creators. We have the license. And just like Picasso could go and edit his own paintings after he had painted them and hung them up in museums, So.
And I think the community responds better when, like you said, they explain their reasons behind the thing.
Yeah.
And then you don't have anything to argue, really.
Right.
You're going to be able to dust Shadowboxer for full refund, because that is the one thing that is being changed to the point where they believe you deserve a full dust refund. So when the
Sure.
change goes live, you can get that if you want it.
Now, with regards to copying cards for enchantments, we'll close with this and we'll move on to the Fireside Gathering events. But the enchantments is something that I highly recommend that you go and read the article, because it sounds like Dross in an audio format. And I would think it's much more informative to just read through the things, because they're much more like ordering based and something that you can kind of work out with pen and paper and just like reading it in a much better format. There are some things that just internalize better in different mediums. So that's one of those things.
Can I say something briefly?
Go ahead.
He did kind of summarize it up and say, if cards are moving forward, they retain enchantments. And if they move backwards, they lose them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something, as a rule of thumb, you can sort of keep in your head. If it's going from your hand onto the board, it's going to retain enchantments. If it's going from the board back into your hand or back into your deck, it's going to lose enchantments.
Yeah. Which is logical, right? I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yep.
Unless they're the only rule of thumb that breaks down is when you start dealing with copies. So if you're making a copy of something and putting it into your hand, or making a copy of something and putting it into your deck, that is forward moving, even though in realms of where they normally operate, that's opposite. It's just making it a cycle. It's more of a cyclical pattern. Is kind of the
it's
idea.
like that hunter card. What's the hunter card? The frenzy? Is it dire frenzy?
Dire Frenzy.
Yeah.
Where you put a 3/3 on a beast and cycles it into your deck, but it retains the enchantment in the deck.
It's like you're placing copies into the deck instead of something like, what's the priest card that just takes all the cards off the board and puts them in your deck?
Psychic Scream.
Oh,
Or something.
Psychic Scream?
Psychic Scream, yeah. So Psychic Scream makes sense that it would remove all enchantments on anything.
Right.
And put them into your deck.
Right.
But the Dire Frenzy, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is copying cards and putting copies into your deck. So
Right.
Yeah.
It's
All
making
right.
essentially new cards. So yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Moving on.
There is a good chance, as a disclaimer, that we missed something or explained something poorly here. Please don't send too much hate mail. Understand that we're trying to do the best we can with only limited resources. So
We
just keep
never
that
get
in mind.
hate mail. We got good listeners. We love you.
All right. That being said, I always have to cover my butt. Let's keep going. Our Hearthstone, August 4th and 5th, there is Fireside Gathering events designated pre-releasing for the event. And they let you open your Hearthstone packs early and play with them within the Fireside Brawl against other players. Very cool. This is the first time they've done something like this with regards to the Fireside events especially, and also just within the game. The special Brawl will be only available at Fireside locations. You'll probably, let's see, you can only use the cards in the brawl that you open from your own card packs, not from others. And no cards can be disenchanted or crafted until launch. Very, very cool. This is just like, this is really interesting to me. The only thing I can kind of see is maybe the controversy on like non-established fireside locations trying to like take advantage of this, similar to what happened with the Nimsy controversy. But
Right.
They're not going to be able to because they're registered ones that they have.
Yeah, they're
actually
very limited.
announced.
Right.
Really limited. Like,
Yeah,
they
so
put
they're
down
probably
the
working
exact
with innkeepers
places.
on this event, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the exact places are on the website. I didn't want to list every single one. but
There's a lot of
places in
them.
every continent and stuff like that. So you got to look up which ones are going to be available in your area.
Mhm,
There's one in
mhm.
Austin, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from my house, and it's like,
Yikes, that's
Belgrade?
far.
no, because that's a long. Well, it's a decent drive, but I got stuff to do.
I was
and
gonna say,
driving
you
to
could
Austin.
report for us. You could
Let's
go
put
be
this
a
way.
reporter.
I said this on Happy Hearthstone. Shout out to Andrew, by the way, because I was on his show this week, and we talked about that. And it's just like, man, saying, "Hey, babe, I'm gonna get in the car and go to a tavern brawl." What's that? Well, don't ask. It's a Hearthstone thing. What do you mean Hearthstone? You're driving 2.5 hours for Hearthstone?
For
That's
a
how the
beer?
conversation for to open cards. You can't wait 2 days. No, you're not spending the money on gas. It would go
Yeah.
about that way. And honestly, I can't really disagree with her because she's kind of right. It's like, I can wait a couple days. I'll be
You're
all
right. You're right.
I just feel like you guys are throwing all of this stuff on your wives, and for me, it's like the opposite situation.
You throw it on your husband, you mean?
Yes.
Oh.
Hey,
I'm like,
you can throw
I
shade no
need
matter how you look at it, okay? You can throw as much shade as you want.
$170 for cards that don't exist in reality.
Digital
Digital.
purchase.
Yeah.
All
That
right.
kind of conversation is really interesting too.
Eve, new Hearthstone
love it.
comic books. Let's keep this rolling.
Yeah, there's one up on the BattleNet website. Go check it out. It's about Dr. Boom. I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but I was able to kind of get some new things. His henchman, his name is Dead Ringer, and I'm assuming there's going to be a card named Dead
Dead
Ringer
Ringer.
in the game.
I want it.
Please be a
Probably
warrior
a
card.
neutral legendary. This is what I think. That's my
Neutral's
prediction.
fine, but it should be playable in warrior. Come on, people. Dead Ringer. Let's go. That's what warrior
I
is.
like it. Dead Ringer.
Warrior
Yeah,
is
it
a dead
fits.
ringer.
Either that or Rogue.
Or just a dead class. Oh.
Ooh. Ooh, Quest Rogue. I'm just kidding. Nerf it twice.
Oh,
I
gosh.
was able to find out that the hunter legendary scientist's name is Boom Master Flark.
Love it.
When he was talking to him, he mentioned dangerous explosive charges and fail-safe devices. So I was wondering if that has to do with kind of his flavor and what the hunter's going to be getting this expansion. When I think fail-safe, the only thing that comes to mind in Hearthstone is maybe
Destiny.
Death Rattle, because that's like a fail-safe. Well, yeah. People who don't play Destiny have no idea.
Failsafe is a snarky
Um,
robot in Destiny, people. It's a good reference.
Which
Come
has
on.
a multiple personality disorder.
It's great. It is a great idea. Can we have multiple personality disorder with a Hearthstone card? That would be great. Especially if it's a hero portrait. Oh my word. You think of like a bipolar disorder version of like Dr.
I think the
Boom?
closest we get is Worgen, right? Because they
Oh
flip
yeah.
I
Yeah.
got it.
forward.
On odd turns, it does one thing in the hero power, and on even turns, it does a different thing.
Ooh. Or odd and even it changes your emotes. That could be good.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
sorry.
yeah,
moving
failsafe
on.
to me was like Death Rattle, right? It's like if this thing dies, then this happens. So that sounds like a failsafe to me. But anyway, moving on. Myra Rotspring, which we may already have known, is going to be the rogue scientist.
What
was
She's
talking
in the
about-
what a
Raunchy cartoon.
name.
Raunchy number
But you
2,
just
she's
heard
in.
Myra, right? Did you hear the entire name, Myra Rotspring?
Yeah.
Or did you
Mhm.
just call her Myra? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then this
She,
is nothing new.
well, but, yes and no.
It's
Depends
okay.
on who's seen it or not.
She was talking about potions and toxic gloop. So, I mean, that just fits with
Toxic
the rogue
gloop.
anyway.
Yeah, you
Flippity
betcha.
floop. Toxic. Gloop.
Toxic loop.
And the last one, tell me if you heard this one. Zarek the Cloner is the scientist for Priest.
Oh, good. More copies of copies.
Right, he's
great.
going to be a cloner. And
Hey,
he talked
bro, I
about
heard you like
lasers
clones.
too. So
Please
I don't know,
more
but
lasers, less cloning.
Making copies of cards seems to be Priest's MO these days. And that's what I was able to get from the comic. Go check it out. It's silly and funny. And there's going to be
Zarek
two more
the
of them coming
Cloner.
down the pipe eventually.
I cannot
Cool.
wait for flavor text. That being
Yeah, flavor
said,
text is awesome.
we have the Boomsday reveals, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. We're going to go into the next section here. We're going to be talking about cards. So let's start off with the Anoyotron's elder brother that has a little bit of a polar charge and a rockin' squirt gun. We have the Anoyo module. Anoyo modular is a 4-mana 2/4 mech that is rare for paladins and is magnetic with the Divine Shield and Taunt keywords, and also looked like a gang member during the raunchy animation, like, because he was like all smiles and then like came in like sad after work and hung up his coat. It was really funny when he walked into the back room. I thought that was great.
I'm gonna call this card Mech Thug Life. That's what I'm gonna call it.
I guarantee you it will be played. Magnetic, Divine Shield, and Taunt. I mean, that's like Paladin's bread and butter.
Yeah, but it's expensive and it's in the 4 slot.
This is true.
You know.
Breaking
Force
news.
is so
Paladins.
sick with Paladin.
Breaking news. As of before we actually get to post the show after the live stream, if you guys are listening, on the 23rd at 10 a.m. Pacific, there is a Play Hearthstone Boomsday Project card reveal live stream.
Hype.
Probably not a whole lot, but thanks, Steven, for putting that from the official Twitter account. That will be not featured in this episode for obvious reasons. And let's get to the next one, unless you guys want to talk about the magnetic implications with the Anoyo module being pretty interesting for Paladin, and also on
I
the
just know
convoluted 4-mana slot.
We're probably going to be hearing Rob say whatever it says on the show.
Oh, yeah. I'll be getting lots and lots of asking requests for this one. Most likely.
What does he say? Does anybody know what the
Don't
card
encourage
says?
them, Grant. Don't encourage them.
So
Okay.
curious. Gosh.
It's magnetic. It has a squirt gun. He's annoying, and so am I. So let's move on. The Beryllium Nullifier. The Beryllium Nullifier. Yes, this is a mech for warrior. 7 mana, 3 attack, 8 health, magnetic, and cannot be targeted by spells or hero powers. So this can't be targeted by spells or hero powers is something that isn't actually as present in Warrior as it may appear. So go into Standard, look through Warrior cards, and see if you can find this effect. Because outside of like the neutral set, they don't really have this.
You know what? Here's something that I didn't immediately understand when I read these cards. I thought that meant you couldn't attack it with a weapon. Like, I mean, the very first time I played Hearthstone
Sure.
and I was looking at these things, right? Because to me, it's
Mhm.
the hero attacking with a weapon, but still the hero attacking. So when it says spells or hero powers, I thought, well, you're not going to be able to target this by your hero. But you can still attack them with weapons. So, I don't know. That's something that was never really easy to...
Yeah. I don't think
You
this
know?
card is any particular shade of interesting outside of it just being big. But
and expensive.
the more I was looking at magnetic,
It doesn't even have taunt.
yeah, I was thinking, I was like, well, maybe you just build like a taunt build, and then you can kind of just like maneuver into that with magnetic components later on. Because if you look at what you get for 6 mana within Paladin, right? You get the Spike Ridge Steed is 6 mana +2/+6, and you get a 2/6 out of the body. With the magnetic things, you could potentially snowball to this point, but it's like, is this what you want to be doing on turn 7? Maybe, but like this could just make something super durable, and like you have to have an answer that is a minion or a rush, and or a complete board wipe. Because that
concern
8
with the
health
magnetic-
as a plus factor is huge. That is a lot of
It is a
health on a
lot.
buff, and they can't be
My
targeted
concern
anymore.
with the mech things is it going to be like Inspire, where you in the end have to use too much mana, like all together, to get to the point where it's good, to make it worth it? Because Inspire was like you have to use your hero power, so you have to use another extra 2 mana on top of whatever you're putting down to trigger it to whatever, and it didn't actually end up being that great because it was just too much
Mhm.
for not enough payoff. And that's what I'm worried about with some of these magnetic cards is like, On turn 7, you're dropping a 3 attack minion. Yeah, it's got 8 health. It doesn't even have taunt. It's going to sit there and do nothing for 1 turn until the next turn you pay more mana to add something to it to then make it to the point where it's something like, unless you have a way to cheat this out, which it's warrior, so recruit maybe. I just don't.
But you lose the
I'm worried
magnetic
about
off
how
of it,
magnetic
right?
is going to work. Whether it's going to be something that is too much mana and not enough. Because otherwise, you have to make the cards broken to start out with, where they're already really good before you add something to them.
I see what you're saying. I agree. I think that expensive magnetic cards are not going to get played very much because it's too slow. And they can't make expensive ones really big, right? Because otherwise it's just like a bit like a 10-10 or something like that. First, that can't be targeted. That's rough. That's Tarantus. That's what he is, right? Except he's a 12-12.
And he's
Um,
huge, and he's slow.
huge, and he's slow. Yeah, you see what I mean? Like he's rough to deal with, and the only reason he works really well is if he can get pulled out from like what is it from us?
Oakheart?
Recruit.
Oakheart. Well, no, not Oakheart.
The dragon. Sorry, the dragon catcher or whatever the thing is.
The spiteful summoner can pull him out.
Yeah.
That's the best way to get him.
No, he's not a dragon. What am I thinking?
He's not a dragon.
He's
He's
a
a beast. But you see what I mean? Like even big cards like that, because it doesn't have taunt. I think if it had taunt, it'd be pretty strong actually.
Now, Grant, let me spin this to
Yeah,
you
it
guys
does
because
have
we
taunt.
haven't really interacted with the whole like copying damaged minions thing very often because it just has notoriously not really worked for a warrior as much.
Mm-hmm.
We had the effect where we
You
could just
can't
add them to our
target this, though.
hand.
Like, does that spell have to be targeted, or do you just
No,
play it?
it's
and
all
just
minions on the board. It's not targeted.
Okay, that would work then.
So I'm thinking like if you can set something up like this, it could be pretty deadly. And there is still counterplay with King Mosh still being in the meta. You can just kill all damaged minions and do something from there. But like the real question is what happens up to this point? Like, is there something that you can do where you can set up a mech to the point that you're like, I really don't want this to get killed? And I've basically burned through a bunch of their silence effects already with my early mechs, and then now I can just make sure that if they want to kill this, they have to have a targeted minion effect, like a battle cry, in order to deal with it.
So this is like, I'm going to put this down, and then the next turn I'm going to do something crazy, and it's going to, like, kill you.
Or it could just be, it could just be like a simple card. It's a mech. It's got magnetic. It's a warrior card. And that's what the game gives you. Like, that's just Hearthstone. Like, honestly, Hearthstone just does this a lot.
Though, right? Like, epic
There's
means...
plenty of bad epics, and there's plenty of, like, really odds cards in the game. The cool thing about this card is it's the typical treatment of an epic card where you're like, I'm not sure, but in a good way, this card could be really interesting, or this card could be just super boring. But I like how they're
one other thing
going
is
with
warrior, right? Like, what kind of warrior decks do we have and have ever had? You have, like, fast, chargy rush, or you have taunt with the quest, but this doesn't even have taunt. And if you gave it taunt later, it also wouldn't activate
because
the
we lack
quest.
context like magnetic and other mechs. I think is the real thing that we can't really say that.
We'll see.
Yeah, we have to
Just
kind of
like,
wait and see.
If you're thinking of the archetype that we've so far seen from warriors, this doesn't fit in any of them.
What I want to know is why this card is an epic card. What what I mean? It doesn't.
Because it
Doesn't
makes you
strike me
go,
as an epic.
huh?
It strikes me
That's
more of a
why.
rare in terms of makes me go, huh? What?
Well, if a
Wait.
card makes you go, huh, it's probably an epic card, right? That's
That's what
that's
I'm
the
saying.
that's the
what I'm
thing.
Things make you go, huh? Right.
All right,
It
let's
makes you
let's
go,
go
huh?
on
It's
before I go
epic.
huh one more time. All right, we got the dendrologist or the dandrologist, depending on how you look at him. He is a goblin,
Head and shoulders.
2 mana, 2/3 that is in Druid that says battle cry. If you control a treant, discover a spell. Cool. It's a rare. It's a little dude. He likes trees. And he likes spells going with the trees, but if you don't have a tree, you don't get a spell. Interesting. You have to actually have it on the board, and this is a 2-mana card. So I want to see how we can get treants on the board on turn 1. That's my big question.
That's my question too.
I wonder if they'll have a
Point.
treant minion. That's just a 1/1 tree. One drop treant.
At the start of
It'll
your
be the
game,
new
your
cute
hero
thing,
power says
Grant.
summon a treant.
Like a 0-cost treant.
Yeah, it'll be 0 cost.
It'll be
treant.
the snow
Yes,
flipper
it'll be like the
penguin.
wisp. Yes.
TY Treant.
Oh man.
Grant is calling it now. The new cute thing is going to be either a 1 cost or a 0 cost treant.
The cute things
Yup.
are always the 0 mana 1/1s, right? That's what they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they're neutral.
They're trying to tempt you to play them because
But they're neutral.
otherwise.
Yeah.
I wanna see all of this new Treant stuff because they're really pushing it. And from what I can tell, the cards that we've seen so far are not like Treant generations tools that I'd actually want, as much as it is
Right.
like just having an option to make a Treant that exists. And we've seen a lot of the Druid cards so far, so I'm kind of like really intrigued by this because most of the cards are like, if you have a Treant, do this type of a thing, or if Treants die this game, then this happens. It's like, that's interesting that you can have all of these supportive cards for Treants, but if you have if you have too many cards you print that are supported by Treants, and not enough cards that make Treants that are good enough, then it could just be existing in the fun tree and not necessarily. Oh gosh, that pun is awful. They could exist in the fun tree. I'll just embrace it, or it could be something that just is, a gimmick.
Well, it's worked with them before because they have buffing cards that buff everything on the board. So they go with tokens well. Like Jade worked really well with Druid, so Treant could work really well with Druid. I will tell you this much. If they actually manage to create a different archetype other than like big taunty stuff and ramp, I will play Druid.
Well, if we've learned anything from Dragon Warrior and Dragon Priest, is it takes longer than 1 or 2 expansions sometimes. So this is something we need to monitor for the next
That's
year
true.
and a half.
That's
Okay,
true.
so just keep that in mind. Is there any other things you guys want to talk through? This is like unprecedented that we've gone through 3 cards this fast, and I'm a little worried.
I don't know. We were hung up on Beryllium Nullifier for quite a while.
We love to
I
get
think we're
hung
just
up
getting
on
good,
dumb
Rob.
cards. All right, let's go. I'm not gonna give you the option. We're gonna go to Flubberdinis Floop.
Flopidinous Floop.
Flubberdinis Maximus Floopus, because he has lots of flasks and floopus and glasses.
I love the art for him. He looks so
It's
cool.
awesome. It's so good.
4 mana, 3/4 Druid Legendary with Floop. He is while in your hand, this is a 3/4 copy of the last minion you played.
Dun dun dun.
Now, the fun fact, this card sounds a whole lot like a effect that we have in Rogue from Valera, but it makes a 3/4 copy and it's only minions. So,
And
so,
also, it stays in your hand from turn to turn. So, like, if you didn't play something that turn, it will still be in your hand for the next turn instead of disappearing.
how many Malagoses do you want?
See,
Yeah.
this is how the entire Discord chat just like went in that direction, straight for Malagos, and I'm like, no, please, something else. And then Firebat tweeted out Malagos, and I was like, no, like think of something else other than Malagos,
But-
please.
But that's the thing
Malagese.
is,
How about that? How about
Everybody-
Malagese?
you have to understand. Well, remember, Eve,
flock.
you played Hearthstone long enough. As all of us have been searching for the Holy Grail deck of Malagos, some Druid or something, where it's consistent, because we all want to be able to guarantee that Malagos gets out. We can burn you down. You know what I
Are
mean? That's,
we-
Eve, why are you
like, who is
concerned? It's a
this
Druid
we?
card. You shouldn't have an opinion.
those of us who are highbrow Druid players. Okay.
Because here's the thing, I have been looking for an excuse to play Druid for a long time, and they've never enticed me. Like, I have tried to get on board the Druid train so hard, and back in like Beast Druid, when they were pushing that for a while, I tried it, and it just didn't live. It did
Okay,
not-
let's pull this back in a little here. If you want to play this card, the card Flubidinous Flurp wants you to play it because you can get a copy of an effect. That's what you're after.
Right.
You're not after copying another like 5/5 that you happen to just play. Now,
Right.
the interesting thing with this card is this is a Druid card that doesn't have any form or archetype in itself, but could make a 3/4 copy of a very good magnetic style minion. So if you're after like some ridiculous magnet thing, which we're going to get to at the end of this list, your friend and mine, Ziliax, which is a 5 mana 3/2 mech with 5 keywords, you can get a 3/4 version of it for 4 mana and play them both in the same turn for burst.
So I can put Malagos down and have him stick, and then play Ziliax, and then make Malagos invincible.
Well, how
just
would
didn't
you
wanna
make it
go.
invincible?
I don't know. Just I'm
invincible.
I'm just trying to see what'll happen if I throw that out there. I don't know.
Well,
If
I'm
I
thinking
would
that the
ever
power
do
of this
that.
card is definitely going to be in its utility. Like thinking about how much of a mainstay like Spellbreakers and like individual card hate that are tech cards like Big Game Hunter, even all the way up to now with like Black Knight. Like you can make a 3/4 Black Knight for 4 mana. You can double Black Knight in one turn with this card. If you really hate Taunt, you can do that.
It gives you the opportunity to have more than just one legendary in your deck.
This card's so flexible. Like if you just have a lot of really good stuff that you're doing and you're playing Druid, I feel like you just put this in. This is less about like, oh my gosh, a 3/4 mana goes for 4. Yeah. No, it's like this card is like the ultimate flexibility. You can do whatever you want. It can open up.
It's just
it can open up
card.
combo stuff. This card's just solid, man.
It's a good card.
I think the cool thing about it is like a lot of the copy cards require you to have the minion down on the board and then you copy it. And this doesn't. You just need to play it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be like, this needs to survive a turn and then I get to do all my stuff. It's all you need to do is play the thing and now you have another copy of it. So that's really cool.
Yeah, but again, the flexibility of the card is at worst you just get a 3/4 copy of something. And at best, you just get an extra effect of something that you really, 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 really wanted to do, or you could even build a whole game plan around this card. This card is like insanely powerful. I would say this is probably the best card we've seen.
Oh yeah,
so far.
it's probably one of the
Easily.
best.
It might even be the best card in the set. We don't know yet.
No, it
it's one of
isn't
those.
because there's another card we really like, Rob. Remember?
Oh,
Whizbang. That's the
Whizbang?
best card.
Okay.
Ever.
All right.
Of
Well,
all
we can get to the memeing later, okay? Let's go do some landscaping. All right. So this is a 3-mana Druid card again. All of Eve's favorite cards of this week because they're all on Druid. Landscaping, summon 2/2 Treants. Sorry. 2/2 for the 2/2. You summon 2 2/2 Treants for 3 mana. So vanilla, summon 2 2/2 minions for 3 mana, or summon a 4/4 for 3. Decent effect.
So
interesting.
we can kind of assume that treants are 2/2s, huh? Like all of them are.
That is a treant by nature.
Yeah.
Soul of the Forest, all of the Force of
The mana
Nature,
ones.
5 mana
think
summon
those-
3 2/2s. That's Force of Nature now because of they got rid of charge way back when. Druid was like, lol, you're at 14 health, you lose. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You remember those days, Grant? You just played Druid and you're like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
they have 14 health, I win.
I remember the meta was when you're playing and you're sitting there, you're like, okay, am I above 14 health? Okay, I'm safe. I don't have to worry about it. I mean,
It's like
you just
the litmus test of playing
Unless
against
they have
Druid.
double Savage Roar.
Yeah, and then you
Which
can play
didn't
around that
happen that much,
too. But even then,
I
22.
think that's actually where my deep-seated hatred of druids comes from, is from Force of Nature Savage Roar.
and
It's probably
UI
the beginnings
and your
of my
deep-seated hatred of Malygos and spell-based
And
combo
Jade.
decks and
Jade Druid too.
yeah,
you
Jade
just
Druid.
need to embrace druidism.
Eve just hates nature. Okay, let's be honest. Just kidding.
And you live in
That's what it
Canada? What? You
She
hate
doesn't
nature,
even
you
play
live in Canada?
druids in D&D. She's that
I
hardcore.
play
Okay.
lots of hunters. Does that count?
Have you ever made a
That's how I
druid
love
character in
nature.
Warcraft? Did you ever have a druid character in Warcraft?
Yeah, because they can turn into lions.
Yeah,
because
they're more shape-shifting in Warcraft. They're less
Ah.
about
Way
that
more.
in this game. The choose one mechanic takes a different form.
Yeah, it's way more that than it
True
is
story.
Yeah. All right.
taunt.
Are we done
Moving on.
landscaping, guys? There's not much to say
Yes.
about this.
Moving on.
Nah.
Next thing. What's up?
I do think it's pretty cool that the landscaping card looks less about like chopping down things and more of just like a mech spreading acid. I thought that was pretty funny on the card art.
And little baby Groots are
like,
growing out of the.
Yeah,
they're,
they're
like, running
frying
away.
baby Groots.
No, he's
Fry the
grow.
Groots.
What are you talking about? It's a summon 2/2 treants. He's
Mm.
making them come out of the
Is
earth.
that what
So
you
he
These are
can
good
burn them with
things.
acid. It's
Your
that
brains
simple.
go straight to like acid. Mine is like,
I
no,
want
that's
to
where
kill
they're
a
coming out of.
thing.
I mean, that's what you do with like rodents, right? You get them out and then you kill them, right? It's a thing.
All right, I'm gonna pull a Goku and I'm gonna
guys are
call the
so
Nimbus.
wrong.
Nimbus, menacing Nimbus is a 2/2 common elemental for 2 mana within Shaman. Battlecry, add a random elemental to your hand, and all of the elemental shamans rejoice. I am hyped because this can get you anything, and it says random, which means not a discover mechanic, so that you can have a little bit more staying power,
You can get
i.e. with your
Pyros.
attack and your stuff.
Pyros
And
and
guess
elemental.
what? This boy fits an even shaman. So you can actually have a decent build of elementals within the package where you can get an elemental that is odd from this card and play like Fire Plume Phoenixes, which have historically not been bad in even shaman, have been pretty decent, and you can still run them. You can run these guys. You can run a fire elementals, and you can run Alakir. Those are all your even guys in the even shaman list that are pretty good. Now, Servant of Kalamos is 5 mana. Hot Spring Guardian is 3, but you can still get them from this card.
Yep.
And you can also get a Snow
Steven
Fury
Sensei
Giant, which is odd.
says, yeah, I agree with you. Blizzard kind of went, do you like Freeze Shaman or do you like Elemental Shaman? And no one ever played Freeze Shaman, so they're like, okay, let's go with the Elementals. I like it better.
Do you like something that's fun to play or something that's a meme that literally is boring to play and you can't win? That's the real question.
It's like, do you like punishing yourself?
Do you
or
want to
like having
punish
fun?
yourself by freezing your own board and losing the game before it happens?
Or would
All
you
right.
like to discover cool elements?
Nimbus looks fantastic, and I cannot wait for the golden art. All right, let's go. We have the Merch Mantra. It is another Druid card, Eve's favorite fan fiction. 10 mana, 8/8 mech with Rush, and costs 1 less for each friendly treant that died this game. So this is the real zinger, and
like a
it looks like a
hippopotamus.
mech hippo.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, with meat
Interesting.
grinders in the
Mulch
mouth.
Muncher. Okay, so Grant, this one was eating treants. So legitimately, you could go in the direction of.
Yeah, it's a wood chipper. That's what it is.
It's a Nick Chipper. Sorry. Nick
A
Chipper
Nick
HS is going to
chipper.
play
I
this
see
card.
what you did there. See what you did there.
I
didn't,
like
but
this
please
card.
Don't try and explain it.
If trance are a thing, you want this card. Like, this is the card for that deck. Having
And Rush?
a rush minion that's 8/8 for cheap is what you want. The problem is you're going to need to invest a minimum of like 3 to 4 of them for this to be even worth it. So you've got to have like, by turn 6, you've got to have lost trance at a good number where
Yeah.
you could just play Token Druid and kill them by turn 5 in the first place. So
Well, I think they're going in the
Mhm.
safe direction of like. Remember, they don't want another purple worm. What is it called? Corridor creeper, right? So they're making it only your treants instead of also their treants, so we don't end up with like craziness like that. So it's a bit safer, but it's also a mech, which means it could have some magnetic craziness that you do with it.
you can also
Depending on?
recruit this card and ignore the entire treant shenanigans.
Yeah.
It's true, but is it 10? Like what recruits it? Spiteful Summoner, I guess.
So Spiteful Summoner could get it.
And you
You
want that
can,
because this has Rush.
yeah, you get the rush out of it, and then it has, yeah, I mean, you can magnetize this
Interesting.
bad boy.
And I hadn't
you
thought
can
about
magnetize it.
spiteful summoning it. That's pretty cool. That'd be useful.
This adds it
Could
to
be.
the Spiteful Summoner 10
But we
mana
also
slot.
have no knowledge of other 10 mana cards
Right.
yet. But I bet you there's going to be more that would
Right.
probably be bad. I would hope so.
Oh yeah.
All right.
More than likely.
Let's go to colliding things with this new warrior weapon. It is 5 mana, 1 attack, 3 durability, warrior weapon called Super Collider. And this weapon art looks so dope. This looks like the workshop hammer inside of Mechadraxus's lab. After you attack a minion, force it to attack one of its neighbors.
So if there's more than one neighbor, it will be randomly chosen. You don't get to choose which one it hits, but seems good. What was that ever played?
Did we just say
rogue-
this seems good, Eve? Why do you think that you like this card? What are you thinking? Like, what scenarios are you
Because
thinking?
you
Out of
can
curiosity.
take out. Well, when it attacks its neighbor, it's also going to take damage from its neighbor as well, right? So you could destroy two
Ugh.
minions, maybe
Yeah.
one that's behind a taunt, something that's hard to reach that you need to get at, things like that.
It's a lot of
I
it's a
think it's-
lot of mana for that.
Let's just look at the gem here. This is an epic card. So
It
if it
is,
didn't
it's
make
a
you go,
scratchy.
huh,
It's head
then it's
scratchy.
really good. So
Well, the thing is also that Warrior has buffing weapon things that it can do as well.
I mean, the hype for me ends with the card art on this one. I think that Warrior has much better stuff that they can be doing, and 5 is real expensive for a kind of lackluster effect. If this card was like less than 5, I think it would actually be unbalanced and probably too strong. But if they want to have fun attacking neighbors and stuff, the problem is you're going to be taking
I got excited
damage.
when I saw it played. I just thought it was cool and interesting. And
Oh,
I was
it's
just
very
like, yeah,
cool
I'm
effect.
on board. So
I'm on board with the
that's what I
effect and this
think.
card existing and the card art looking fantastic. But as far as like a competitive thing, I'm going to be taking damage from a lesser minion that I don't actually really care to remove because I want that card not necessarily to die. I want the big guy to die, but I don't want to take damage from the big guy. So I have to kill it with a minion. So the idea is the setup might be worthwhile including this into your deck because if you have a really big fat minion on the enemy's side and then they set up a small taunt minion and that card, that big minion is like damaged, but the taunt minion is full health and it's like way smaller, maybe you can like finagle that in a couple of situations. I feel like this could be a really good tech card long term.
I like how, yeah, you can use a taunt to attack a minion that it's supposed to be protecting. It's like you make a turn on
Yeah,
its-
yeah. Like Steven said, you can
little
maybe
minion.
maneuver a gastropod there, but
Oh, gastropod.
So it's an
again, you
anti-poison
have to.
card.
Interesting. I like that too.
I do like how this card, like, if this card exists, if metas kind of trend towards something where gastropod becomes a mainstay, then you have kind of a checks and balances within building warrior. So I do like that. They do give you a little bit more power to kind of deal with very specific threats, but again, purple card means specific question your life decisions moment if you're going to put it in your deck
If
type
we
of
think
thing.
of Warrior, they don't have a ton of removal, right? Like they have Brawl, they have Shield Slam, they have Execute.
Warpath. Warpath-
Yes,
Warpath's a
but
problem.
That's like,
Well,
that'll take
Whirlwind
your
King
entire
Mosh is another
turn.
one.
Whirlwind King Mosh, Razor, Blood Razor.
I like that they're adding. This is like a removal that can be cleverly played and used properly. It's interesting, but you're right. It is expensive. That's probably why the purple gem.
Yeah. Cool.
5 mana is just a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Upgradable Framebot, the one card that Twitter really loves to hate. 2 mana, Mech, 1 attack, 5 health. This is the beginning of the game for your magnetic snowballs and snowmen, depending on how far this guy gets before it gets silenced or killed.
How to mulligan. Upgradable Framebot or bust.
Pretty much. If you have the coin in this card, you're off to an excellent start if you have a magnetic minion in your hand. And this card builds into even Paladin, even Shaman. And this and even Shaman with a mech build with lots of even cards seems real scary, especially if you can start getting those healing totems and taunt totems to protect them while magnetizing.
Yeah.
Whew. Throw the couple of those things in there. Maybe you want to go wide instead of like having a bunch of magnet bots. You can have like a little bit of them. You can run this in wild with the I don't know, the 2 mana 3/2 that spins up Whirling Zap-O-Matic with Wind Fury and really make your opponents rage. I think Shaman
man.
is going to be so gross in wild. It's going to be very
It already
scary.
is gross and wild.
Those are all neutral. Oh, I was thinking of the one that its attack goes up every turn. That neutral one.
Oh, the 1 mana 1/2.
Yeah. Attack goes up every turn. Your opponent's and yours.
I can't even
That was a
remember the name of
pretty-
that card. That card was crazy in Arena. But Upgradable Framebot is just a card that if you're going to play the Magnet game in the neutral set, this is a card you want in your deck and you want a mulligan for. Those are like the things that people are saying, at least for now. It's not too
So
unique.
is it just power creep? Is that what they were complaining about?
They're complaining that it's a 5 attack minion on turn 2.
You mean 5 health?
When 5 power minion, not 5 attack, sorry. 5 power minion. 5 health, however you want to look at it. But this guy's going to be nigh impossible to remove without like full committing to it and exchanging your rights to initiative.
But here's the thing. You're dropping that, right? And he's doing nothing. And then the next turn, you're going to magnetize to it, right? So on turn
Ideally.
1, who knows what you did. Turn 2, you still did nothing. Turn 3, then you do something. Unless you have the coin, you put it out on turn 1. But still, it's like it gives people time to react. Good?
I think the fact that this card exists makes me think there might be 2 different kinds of cards. One, there's got to be some pretty decent 2-drop mechs coming out that can magnetize. You know what I mean? Or maybe 3 drops. You know, that's something that's going to happen. Secondly, I wonder if there's going to be like a crab version, a mech crab that's a crab. You know what I mean?
Well, there already is
a mech
one.
eating crab.
No, because
There
then it
already
would
is
just be
one because this has got
auto-included
1
in everything.
attack. There is the Scorpomatic, which Mad Gamer beat me to the punch by saying it, but I was going to mention that when you guys had your talks. But Scorpomatic is a mech and is a 2-mana 1/2 that eats 1 attack minions.
Yes.
1 attack or less minions. So you can actually eat Doomsayers, I think, right? Or is that wrong? Maybe it's 1 attack. I'll look it up.
It's 1 attack.
I think it's
attack.
1
Has to
exactly.
be 1 attack. Okay.
Because we would have all
okay.
included it as early game if it ate
But
Doomsayers.
that's not a mech eater. It's just a 1 attack eater.
No, but
so...
the card itself is a mech, which is interesting because you can eat somebody's upgradable frame bot and have a decent target for your reverse swing with magnetic if you're also playing a mirror match.
That's true.
The plot thickens. All right.
But yeah.
Eve's favorite card ever. No, we're on War Gear now. Right.
War
Oh, dang,
Gear.
you got me all excited.
5 mana, 5/5 mech with magnetic. A 5 mana version of Kings for mechs.
Basically.
And it's for everyone. I think this card is subtly very powerful.
It could be an inclusion in a lot of mech decks.
I think this is the most flexible magnetic card we have right now. Because it doesn't ask you of anything. It doesn't take a hit in stats. It's just a 5 mana 5/5 if it sucks. And that's not bad. Especially when you're running a mech deck, right?
Yeah, I was thinking this week that one of the things I've heard nobody say is that this is a really interesting roundabout way at getting around charge. If you think about it, it's 5 mana to the face, right? If you want it to be, if you have a mech on board already. So it's like giving that minion charge with conditions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, dang, if Bone Mare taught us nothing, a 5 mana buff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And
pretty
probably
good.
more than that, right? Because the minion on board probably has stats of its own. So.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think it has the potential to be strong.
I just think like with magnetic, I think you want to evaluate how good it is when it magnetizes as well as when it doesn't. And this is the one that has done the most with both because it doesn't make any form of sacrifice with its mana cost or its stats.
Yeah.
It's
all right. Let's go.
Now Eve can get excited.
All right, Eve. I'll cut you loose. Let's go.
Okay,
Off
so
to
Whizbang, the wonderful
Waces.
4 mana, 4/5 neutral legendary. You start the game with one of Whizbang's wonderful decks. So for all of my friends and children and husband who are like, I can't start playing Hearthstone because I have no cards and no decks, you just need 1 card. You may now play Hearthstone with 1 card. I would like it if they would put this in the Evergreen set. Like right off the bat, I'm full on board with Grant's idea of just giving this card to new players and being like
complete the tutorial and you unlock this card.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got in an interesting dialogue with a person on Twitter today. They were saying, well, so as I posted at Play Hearthstone on Twitter, I said, hey, what are the chances that you could give this to new players who have very young accounts or like brand new? Just because, I mean, it's kind of like drug dealer mindset, right? I don't mean to think like in the gutter, but
oh, please
like,
tell me more.
you
you give things away for free.
Yes.
You get people interested in, you get them hooked, and then they come and pay you money, right? So like you give them Whizbang the Wonderful, they get playing all these sweet decks, and they're like, oh man, I didn't get the deck that I wanted to play. That one that I really liked was really fun. Oh gee, what cards are in there? Oh, I want to get those. Well, how do I get those? Cha-ching, So but
it's way better than asking them for a whole lot of time investment and money investment to start out and
Right.
then to eventually get to where they're enjoying the game.
Yep.
But they start out enjoying the game, get invested, and then be like, I want to play more and have my own decks that I make myself, so then invest money in the game.
Yeah.
You
Does
want to know
anybody
who
think that
else
the
wants
card?
this card? Lazy players, people that play casually, people that just like don't want to go online, people that just
Don't want
want to
make
play
a
the
deck?
game for fun. Gasp! How dare you?
What's
You know, like
what's
I don't know. This card is a lot
the?
of people could like this card. I don't see why not. Why can't we just
Is it
get
just? Is it just me, or does the card art look like the character Jeff Goldblum plays in Thor Ragnarok?
It looks
He's the
like
gnome
Jeff
version.
Goldblum mixed with Wilfred Fizzlebang.
You're so
Wilfred
rude.
Fizzlebloom.
So psychedelic. It's so
Whiz
awesome in
bang
so
fizzle
many ways
bloom.
because
Does he have a melting staff?
Whiz bang Fizzledoom. Fizzlebloom.
Oh.
the decks, like we have acknowledged that the decks that they're making. Oh, by the way, we got to explain. Okay, Whizbang's wonderful decks are going to be the decks that are in the suggested deck when you go to make a deck, and they're the ones that Blizzard has made.
The recipes.
Those random ones there, the recipes. Yeah.
Do
so
they have
he's
wild
going
recipes?
to choose. No, they don't.
Oh, shucks.
Really?
Wait, what's going to happen
What?
when you go into wild?
Just give you standard decks that you play in Wild.
Yeah.
That's probably what it'll be.
They should look into that. They should look into making one wild deck. But anyway,
I'm
I
actually
get
surprised
off
that they
track.
don't. Okay.
The thing what I was saying was, yes, they're going to give you one of the, how many cards? There's 19? Are there 18 decks that they're choosing from?
Eh?
There's just 3 for every class. Yeah? There's 3 decks for
Yeah.
every class, and then it's going to choose one of those and just like make it your deck. Whizbang the Wonderful is not going to be in the deck because otherwise you would have 31 cards. So he just kind of makes a deck for you, gives it to you, and then leaves and goes off to do wonderful Whizbang things. And then you get one of these decks, which is made from the deck recipes. So, like, just for all the reasons, this is amazing for new players. That they don't have to have cards, that they don't have to know how to make decks, that the decks that the Blizzard devs have been making are getting better and better. They're not as horrible as they were when they first made deck recipes, when we all were just like, these are the most ridiculous bad decks ever. They're getting better and better, so you could
Right.
actually learn how to play Hearthstone, get to a certain level of play with these decks, and then get to the point where you're like, they're only going to take me so far. If I want to be meta and I want to get better and I want to reach legend, I'm going to have to take the next step of investing, yada yada. But up until that point, those decks will be perfectly fine for you to play with. Like this, I'm so excited about this. I'm so happy they made this card for new players. I can like get my kids to play and my husband to play. But like, I love Grant's idea, which is you should go one step further and give this. Why are you just laughing at me?
I sent Grant
Not
a
laughing
secret
at
text
you.
that I can't say
Not
on
laughing
air.
at you.
Can't say it.
Not laughing.
Can't say it later.
Anyway, I want this to be a thing that they give to new players when they start a new account. And I don't know if it's a downside because, like Grant said, it's a gateway drug. It's like you get in and you have fun, and then you decide you like Hearthstone, you want to stay, and you want to invest.
So something that somebody had mentioned, that if they're not going to just like give this to, you know, the players, or this is not the random thing, I was thinking that I would like to see them give this card the Mare and the Fox treatment, where it's like you log in, you just get it. And then you don't have to worry about like opening this card later on, or like actually like spending your hard-earned dust to craft this thing, this monstrosity, if you're a competitive player.
Right.
And anyways, that's just like good ideas. I feel like we talked a lot about this card, so let's move on. But this card's really cool, and
very cool.
this is one of those cards where it presents more opportunistic dialogue within Blizzard that I wasn't really expecting to have, in a good way. And I hope that they really listen to feedback on this one. And we'll just leave it at that.
Make it part of the evergreen set and give it to new players.
Now, this card is the last one that we're going to be covering, and is actually one of my favorites that we've seen, not only because the card art reminds me of my favorite card in Yu-Gi-Oh!, but it also reminds me of one of my favorite cards in the sets of all time, which is Alakir the Windlord, because it's literally card text is just keywords. So it's a 5-mana mech in the neutral set has 3 attack and 2 health, so already not off to a great start, but it has Magnetic Divine Shield, Taunt and Lifesteal, and Rush. So if you've been able to build up something, or even have an average 4 or 5 mana mech by the time you get this in your hand, you can just give it a +3/+2 and 5 keywords. Or rather, you can magnetize it and give it 4 keywords, or you can just have a mech with it. Like, the thing about magnetic is it's just like that's an effect on the card. It's more of like the battle cry, if you would. What it could do. Like the magnetic and choose one is kind of the idea here.
Right.
But Divine Shield, Taunt, Lifesteal, Rush is terrifying to me. And I'm sure that this is one of the cards they've probably spent the most time balancing. Because this card being 5 mana
Rush,
with those
right?
stats. Yeah, with Rush.
It can't hit face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with Steven in the chat saying that this is a big part as to why Shadowboxer got the nerf treatment because of the lifesteal and the rush going together.
Yes.
If you imagine that, like hitting something for 3 plus 2, which is what the Shadowboxer is, would be like a 5. It would basically make Shadowboxer a 5/5, and then you could rush something, gain 5 health, and then box for an infinitude. Basically.
Okay, wait. I know. I think I already know the answer to this question, but let me ask: if you have a minion down on the board already, and then you magnetize this to that, the thing can attack face, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. The rush
It's
probably
not like
really.
The
putting
rush
rush
is
on it
more
is
of
like,
like
now
if
you
you have a
can't
1
attack
mana or
face.
2 mana minion late game, you can just drop them both. So,
Right.
for example, the 1/5 that is the upgradable
okay.
Steam bot, you just go like 1/5 +3/+2, so it becomes a 4/7, and then it has Rush. So you play 2 cards, get a 4/7, Divine Shield, Rush, Lifesteal, Taunt.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
But it costs you
makes-
7 mana to do that, and 2 cards.
It's a card that allows some lesser desirable top decks to be better. You know.
Right. I think the Rush is more or less like if you want to combo it out from hand, to like kill
That makes
something,
sense.
or
Mhm.
you just want to play this card by itself, which is again not ideal. I think this card's power is in the magnetic feature rather than anything else.
Well,
so
it'll
just keep that
survive.
in
It's
mind.
got divine
was-
shield.
What was the paladin card? I always forget the broom bristle, or what was his
Wicker Flame, Burn
Wicker
Bristle.
Wicker flame. That's what it reminds me of, except the mech version of it.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this card?
Kind of ambivalent at the moment. I can see how it could be good application. I think it's 5. I think 5 mana seems a little high, but we'll see. I'm not going to write it off just yet, but I'm
Well,
not excited
my-
about it. Let's put it
If
that
we're
way.
assuming that mech that is going to be a type, if it's going to be like mech mage and mech rogue and mechs all over the place, then this is probably going to be an auto include, which kind of sucks because it's a legendary, and people do kind of get a little salty about like auto include legendaries.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that the mana cost doesn't really matter as much because you're assuming you already have a minion on the board and this is just attaching to it and giving it all of these abilities. So it's not like you're looking at the stats, which are 3/2. You're looking at what do I already have on the board that I'm now giving Divine Shield, Taunt, Lifesteal, and Rush. So
I think
it's
this
good.
card's so cool, and I'm a big fan. So let's keep it.
Yeah.
Keep it going. I'm
right,
excited
that's
to
all
see
of
the reveal stuff, but that's all, folks. Let's go back to our other screen on the live stream, and I'm going to turn it back over to Eve to talk through the ethereals.
So I was going to say, well, it turned out not to be an ethereal expansion, but we do know that the priest scientist is an ethereal.
Interesting.
The Zarek the cloner is an ethereal. So that plus a couple of other ethereals in the game, we decided to do a lore moment. And also Rob loves ethereals for some reason.
I do.
Nexus Champion Sarad, Arc Thief Rafam, Ethereal Peddler. These are all ethereals in the game. So their homeworld is called Koresh. It was destroyed by Demencius the All-Devouring.
How's that for
You
a
attack
name for
them.
you? That was my band name in high school.
Demencius the All-Devouring. He was a powerful void lord who destroyed their planet, and then he destroyed it by like attacking it with arcane energies. And so that's what happened to all the people. They didn't actually look like that to start out with. It was just their bodies were suffused with so much magic, basically, that they sort of came apart. And the magical bindings that they wrapped around themselves sort of hold their essences in.
Hmm.
They're like enchanted bandages that hold them together, but without the bandages holding them in, they're
They
like
lose
pure
their corporeal
arcane
form.
energy. Yeah.
Mm.
So they're literally
So-
swirling powered energy, and they don't even speak. Like, you hear them in your mind when they speak.
Yeah. Telekinetic powers.
Because they're literally
mind
just
powers.
energy and power.
Yeah. They're a lot like the goblins and the trade princes. Like they're kind of thieves and tricksters and wheelers and dealers, and they care a lot about getting money for their efforts.
They're a lot stronger than they let on a lot of the times too. They're scary, but they're I feel like they're the polar opposite in a lot of ways to the goblins, because goblins are a little bit more fun and greedy, whereas the consortium are a little bit more shady and a little bit more like, listen, pal,
Devious and
give me my
treacherous.
money, okay? Give me my money. They're a little bit more of like the mobster that are like actually serious instead of the goofy ones that you see with the goblins.
In World of Warcraft, they kind of used them to bring things into the game that we didn't have access to before.
Right.
Mm.
Like they're like, we're going to implement new things like giving you way bigger bank vaults. And how do we do that? We bring these ethereals in and go, we're going to give you void storage.
Pocket dimensions,
like
boys.
Pocket dimension to like
Nice.
save all your stuff there, and transmogrifying things, which is to change the look of your armor and your items to something else so you can still wear the stats that you want, but make it look like something cool that's like 3 years old that you would never be able to wear. So
Yeah.
all of these cool abilities they wanted to be able to implement into the game, they're like, let's just say they come from a different world and they have all these weird powers and can do stuff, and we'll just sell you this ability. So you have to pay them whenever you want to do stuff like that, and that's how that they make money in the game.
They're very, very cool. And there have been many an effort of people trying to get them to be a playable race for a long, long time. I would be definitely one of the champions of that, because I would love to play a shaman that was an ethereal. I would switch factions for that. Like, that sounds super hype. And then they
It's
came out
almost
with
like
pandas.
they're the advanced alien race kind of idea,
Yeah,
you know? Like,
yeah.
it's much farther technologically advanced than anything that we have on Azeroth, and they just really care about making money. So they'll come
Mhm.
down and share their knowledge with us if we pay them.
Now,
That's
the
basically how it works.
ethereal's main thing, Eve, do you have any other like side notes on what the consortium is? Which they're like the more friendly ones in Netherstorm and Outland area. They're like the faction, right?
There's kind of like the trade princes, and then there's a sort of a shadow one that's evil.
Mm.
So you have the leader of the consortium, the trade prince, I can't remember his name, and then he's fighting against the other ones who are
Yeah.
working for the bad
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, and the reason that we bring up these guys is not just because Netherstorm and Arcane Energy, but they have like ports and outlets where they're like harvesting arcane energy. They're doing the ecosystems that we mentioned when we were talking about our prediction. Like, they're kind of in charge of them. They're maintaining these gateways and Blade's Edge Mountains, where you can teleport. They're energy constructs where they're just like basically the only things out in Netherstorm holding the construct of the continent without getting ruptured into the void. Like, they're the only things helping maintain Netherstorm actually having structure, which Area 52, where our expansion takes place, is a centrifugal area where the consortium faction of ethereals are working together with mad scientists, with gnomes and Dr. Boom and goblins all together to make sure that they can, maintain the structure near the void, get some rare materials, and make some money. So,
And the reason they can survive out there is because they're made out of arcane energy, so they don't need to eat. They don't need
Exactly.
to drink. Like, all of the void energies out there don't really bother them. Living on a harsh landscape with like no trees or animals or anything doesn't really matter to them because they're made out of arcane energy. So it kind of made a lot of sense to put them in the blasted out land and have them running around being like,
they're very
whatever, it
cool.
doesn't matter to us. We like all the energy.
Consistency, like it.
Yep. And if the Elite Taran Chieftains happen to ever die, I hope they all go back to Ethereals, because that would be the coolest metal band. Elite Taran Ethereals. That would be pretty rad. Can you imagine?
They'd have to be
Nice.
like exploded through arcane energy. They'd have to die that specific way.
Yep. All right, well, we are approaching the very tail end of the show. And then for the sake of actually ending the show before 1 hour and 30 minutes is up, we have a quick note here from our friend and yours, Midgame, in the Discord. Over the past year, Coin Concede has run a listener league designed to give their listeners a chance to play in a low-stakes tournament and or multiple tournaments and give some experience playing against friends within the community. This rotation, though, we consolidated the leagues to happen the month following each set. As they release in this set, we want to expand our league to a wider range of people. With that, we've decided to expand within Velen's Chosen and our community. So their league is going to be starting September 8th and will run for approximately a month with participants that are required to play 2 best-of-5 matches a week. So you play 2 matches, best-of-5 each week. It will allow you to represent basically our podcast. If you want to represent our community, or you can represent the Coin Concede community, you can have a little bit more fun banter that way. It allows us to kind of maintain good community relationships and encourage people to listen to more than just one show, and have a foray into tournament play and experience to develop your skills at a low-stake environment. If this sounds like something you're interested in, please let us know. Jump into our Discord or jump into Coin Concede Discord, whoever you'd like to represent, and look for the Listener League channel. If you don't have access to it, please ask Midgame himself or an admin or the hosts, and we will get you the role so you have access to it. And if you have more questions, you can DM Midgame on Discord or Twitter. And his Twitter is MidgameHS. Eve, Grant, and I will not be participating so that
Yeah, it's
you
kind of more
guys
for
can.
the listeners of the podcast. It's not
Yeah.
really for the hosts of podcasts. It's like everybody that's in Discord that's chatting and is friends with each other. If you feel like it would be too stressful to go to an actual tournament and that kind of thing is sort of, you feel like it's beyond your skill level, but you'd like to give it a try and maybe work your way up towards doing something like this, it's pretty low stress. You're playing against other people in the Discord community, other people who listen to the podcast, and it's just basically for fun. See how you are, get some experience in.
Mm-hmm. If you're looking to prepare for tournaments, it's a good way to like get your feet wet without having to invest too much into it and take your lumps.
Yep. Most of the scheduling is all on you and whoever it is that you have to play that week. You can play on any region. This is extended to EU and Asia. And if you don't have cards on that account and you want to participate and support a EU or a Asia version of this, you can contact some people in that area. And if we have enough involvement of people that are both participating main players and also supporting players, then you can have the deck sharing feature and run with that, because that is now a thing. So,
Just tell them what deck you want built and then use their cards.
yeah, you can do that. if you're playing with somebody who also needs to use the deck feature, I can see some hiccups with that. But again, talk with Midgame. He'll help set it up. This is all on his end. So if you're having any more specific questions, you'll want to ask him. But in general, Grant, Eve, and I are going to be working with him and our admin to kind of understand the best we can to answer some of the questions. But we will default to Midgame and the Coin Concede folks for more details. We have
Cool.
no new Patreon supporters, I believe, this week, but it is a great place that you can support us as creators. Grant, do you want to talk a little bit about this as I pull open our iTunes review?
Yeah, if you want to throw us a few bucks, a cup of coffee, a tip, or whatever you want to call it, you can just head on over to patreon.com/Velen's Chosen and just sign up. And we appreciate every dollar, every penny. If you want to support us via our Twitch stream, maybe if you have a free sub that maybe you have with your Amazon Prime, you can come on over and just click the sub button. I make sure I do it. I support my own podcast because I have Amazon Prime, and so I just kind of click it every now and again just so that I remember to do it and then talk about it on the show. Sounds kind of self-serving, but a couple bucks, I guess, that I'm.
Hey, if you're not using it for anything else, might as well.
Right.
And you gotta
Well, I
remember
don't.
to resub at the beginning of every month
Yep,
because
and
they
it
give you a
resets.
chance to give to like
That's
a
right.
different person every month. Your Prime, whatever comes
Yep.
with Amazon
Yep.
Prime. So remember to resub at the beginning of every month.
Yep. I have to do it on my show, or else I'll forget to talk about it because I think there's been many months that went by where I just didn't sub to anything just 'cause I didn't think about it.
It's money that's going nowhere, people. You need to
great,
use it.
great way to support us if you can't support us financially with dollars or pounds or yen or whatever you happen to possess.
Rupees.
Is you can leave us an iTunes review.
Rupees.
Those go a long way, kind of help us show up on the search feeds when people are looking for podcasts. I myself was one of those people years ago that was looking for anything I can listen to. And when you type in Hearthstone podcast, if you give us reviews, the more reviews we get, the higher up on the list we get. And we really would appreciate that.
We have no new iTunes reviews this week, but the last one we got, we already read on the show from, I think it's Rub311. So if you guys want to do that, we'll read it on the show. If you guys want to find the show notes, I always post them on the website. And special thanks to Steven Sensei for subbing with Twitch Prime live on the show, as well as we had one in the early show. I'll go ahead and shout him out. It's Alto Magic 21 for also being a new Twitch Prime sub this month for July. Please do us a good favor and listen to our friend Andrew is Living. Happy Hearthstone. He had Grant on this last week.
Yep.
Talked a little bit about it at the top of the show. Grant, any other comments there?
Oh, it was awesome. If you want to learn some Velen's history, you can go back to that episode. It's episode 130. Andrew and I had a great time. I think the show was pushing 2 hours. Just two of us, just
normal
the
form,
breeze,
guys. Normal form. We know this.
Yeah, can't help ourselves. Apparently, we're
have
very
to listen
verbose
to it.
people.
Yeah.
Apparently, Watchmen sings, so I absolutely need to listen to this episode.
I'll give you a teaser. It's a Andrew likes to have people introduce a card of the week with music. Like they make up a tune. I sing a card of the week to the tune of the Irish Washerwoman. I'm just gonna leave it there. Yeah.
Goodness. If you guys like the show and you want to check out other things, real quick, Eve, I'll pass it to you at the end here. I think I've kind of gone out of my normal form. So website is VelenChosen.com. You can find anything on VelenChosen.com/links. If you want to find our Discord, it's Discord.me/VelenChosen. If you want to find our Twitch stream, everything is going to be Velen's Chosen or Velen's Chosen podcast. Just use your Googles. It'll help. Eve,
Yep.
Before I rudely cut you off, what is it that you are going to promote?
UHL had its final match today, and the champion is Red Knight, has won the UHL for this season. He was up against, from the Wild podcast, Nate Wolf from Into the Wild, and they took it all the way to 9 games.
Woo!
Good job, guys. It was an amazing watch, and I got to cast it with Rod Johnston from Tier 5 podcast, and yeah, we had a lot of fun announcing it. It was long, and eventually Red Knight took the championship. So congratulations, the winner of the UHL.
Right on. Yeah. If you guys want to find Eve, you can find her
at Lore Master Eve on Twitter, and my Battle.net is Lore Master
Without the E?
1974. Without the E. No, not on Twitter. On Twitter, I was able to have all of my characters. So
that's
it's
the
Lore
Battle.net.
Master Eve. But the Battle.net is missing the E between the T and the R because I couldn't fit it all in. It was too long. 1974.
Grant, what about you?
The Twitter sphere at WatchmanHS, battle tag, Watchman, #1140. Big shout out, thank you to all of our listeners. You know, I'm very shameless about asking for friend quests, but the friend quests this week have been 160 gold because of the Ragnaros Fire Festival. And so I was able to push my gold count over to 8,000 because I had a few people friend quest me, and that was very, very, very nice and generous of them. So many thanks to them.
If you guys want to find what I'm doing, I'm at Twitter and Instagram with the tag NotRob. If you like Overwatch, you can head over to Omnic Lab, which I will be returning as of this week. Back to the show from just crazy scheduling. I know next week I will have to figure out how to do the show without Andres because him and a bunch of the podcasters are actually going to New York City for the Overwatch League finals, which may or may not actually feature New York because they could get knocked out today. which
Ooh, that'd be
is
rough.
insane because they got 3-0'd by Philadelphia in a shocking match just yesterday. And I haven't checked to see what the record was today. So no spoilery, no cappuccino. You guys can go check it out next week and see who made it. If you want to check out Concept Craft, it is a little side project that I do once a month now. I figured out a good thing to do, talking with Carrie about D&D and kind of like what we've been doing on our session. Our last episode featured last month. If you want to go catch up, we've progressed quite a ways. And shout out to our D&D group consisting of my wife and our wonderful DM Cap Correlator, and Smiley Chris is our fighter. Steven Sensei is our rogue. And we also have Jan Jinkle, who is our friendly neighborhood bard. I'll put it that way. So you guys can go check that out if you'd like to. We're not streaming it or doing anything fancy with it, but we do talk about the D&D sessions until we figure that out. I'll let you know. Thanks again for tuning in for episode 148. And Mechs, mo problems. We'll see you guys for the live stream next week. Remember, not a who wander or lost. Don't go all exploding. Bye. Alrighty, I am stopping this